why being in shape is a non-negotiable. Always amazes me that somehow we have to have these discussions. That we've reached this point in this fucked up world of ours where you have to be convinced and explain to why being fit, strong, healthy is just like a non-negotiable. It is still one of those ones that I don't think I will ever wrap my head around. But here we are. That we need to have these discussions. And I think the more you get into it, the more you realize that, well, the world just doesn't want to effort anymore. The biggest issue is that most people don't want to put in any kind of fucking work. But we're still talking about fundamentally the thing that allows you to live whatever existence you're going through. This meat suit that we pilot is what allows you to do all the things you do in your life. Whether that is doing fucking nothing or not, this is still how we get there. So the fact that I need to debate and argue and explain why you need to be in great shape is just phenomenal to me. But nonetheless, it's, well, where we're at. But you just need to be fit and strong so that you can handle life better. You need to have muscle because it's, metabolically and biologically advantageous to have more muscle, to protect you from life, to be able to handle things in life, from the small things to the big things. My kids went to a birthday party on the weekend. And it was at one of those kind of, big playgrounds that they play at, and they're having a great time. Towards the end, there were less kids around. And so my son wanted me to come on the equipment and play with him. Sure, why not? First off, I was one of the few parents who were capable of getting into the equipment and playing with our children. And then we got into a situation where he wanted me to go down this big twirly slide. I was like, why not? Didn't particularly want to do it, purely from the point of view of I wasn't sure how well I was going to fit around this slide. But, I don't know about you, but if it makes my kids happy, there is a good chance I'm going to say yes to that situation. So I did. So maneuvered myself into this slide, popped my son on my lap, and down we go. And the way he'd set up and was leaning back into me, I was like, oh no. I am picking up way too much speed as we go down this fucking slide. And I was like, this is going to be an interesting experience at the bottom. This is going to end badly. And I could see it, and I'm looking at the bottom going, oh no, I'm going to shoot out of this thing. So I wrap him tight in my arms so that he doesn't get hurt, and I just fucking launch out of the bottom of this slide. So I get a bit of hang time, and I land right on my hip. This was not, by any stretch of the imagination, a fun experience. But because of what I've done in my life, because of the way I've built it, because of the exercise and things that I do on a daily basis, this didn't faze me. This didn't trouble me. This wasn't an issue. I didn't enjoy the experience, but my body has been built to handle these things. And this is where you get these separators, because I have not only built mentally, but also physically, a body that can handle taking on things. And no, this wasn't a grand thing, but it's the difference between those. On the flip side, I was playing basketball last week, and one of the guys on the other team, who's in his 30s like me, got bumped, landed on his hip, and he couldn't play the rest of the game. We spoke to his team. He's out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Wasn't jumping, didn't create airtime, didn't do anything. Literally bumped, fell to the ground, hurt his hip. Deep bone contusion, I was informed. These are the separators. Yeah, I work out because I do want to look good. I like looking good. But that's not the primary driver. My primary driver is that I want to be strong, fit, healthy, and capable for as long as humanly possible. You know, I want to live, not just exist. And there is a big difference. And I feel that most people reach a stage that's getting earlier and earlier in life, and they just exist. They're just going through the motions. They're just plodding along here. Nothing special going on. They're just waiting till the day they die. What is it? You know, died at 25, waited to be buried till 75. It's this kind of notion that you're just plodding along. No, I want to live. I want to be able to do stuff. I want to be able to, at the drop of the hat, be able to go out and play with my kids and my grandkids and hopefully my great-grandkids and all of that. I don't want to just be in existence. I want to be able to live. But part of that, and it starts at this age, despite what people think, is the ability to continue to do stuff, the ability to take hits and keep moving forward, to not break, to not crumble, to not have an injury that's going to set you back and sideline you for months, if not years. It's the ability to just keep moving forward, and that ability comes from building strong foundation. It comes from building strength. It comes from building muscle. The more muscle to a certain point you have, the greater capacity you have to just handle life. The more likely you are to survive incidents and injuries and problems that arise. This is why you need to build it. And even down to things like, I had one today. I was lifting, setting up, and I think it was 110 on the bar. And when I went to rack it, I missed the rack. I wasn't paying attention. It was my own stupid fault. And I missed the rack. And suddenly one side dips down. Could have been a horrendous situation. It's not something that I would recommend anyone does. However, again, because I have built enough muscle, because I have spent time building my body to be strong and protected, I didn't blow anything. I could have blown a disc. I could have, thrown my back out. But my body is strong and protected. These are the kinds of things that need to happen. And to the point of, for your kids. I want my kids to see me leading by example. That I am strong, that I am fit, that I am capable, and I can take on anything that they throw at me. I can participate in the sports as I get older. I can climb, I can jump, I can sprint, I can do all the things that they want to do. And I had someone the other day, and they were like, well, what if your kids don't want to go outside and don't want to do those things? And I was like, well, that's a different issue altogether, because very rarely are there children who don't want to go out and do things. Very rarely are children innately sedate. That's a bigger problem, but that's one that I don't really want to touch with a 10-foot pole, because that's down to you and your life choices. But this comes back to, again, the life choices that you're making. You're leading by example for your children. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's the reality of the situation. You are setting the fucking example. What is it? 1 out of 3 children are overweight or obese. Rapidly heading by 2030, they think it's going to be 2 out of 3. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens by your choices, by the food that you put on the table, by the decisions that you make and the environments that you expose them to. Your choices matter. This is why it's so much bigger than just the ability to look good naked, the ability to feel confident in yourself, the ability to have mental toughness and fortitude. It's down to all the areas. It's leading by example for your children, the ability to participate with them so that they will want to do those things. It's setting them up for success overall, not just letting them exist. You know? Childhood obesity is a massive problem. If it starts then, of course it's going to have compounded effects. Of course it's going to have bigger issues down the track. Of course you're going to run into more things. It comes down to what you're willing to do and set them up. And we should want to set our children up to be better than us. I don't want them to just be the same as me. I want them to far exceed me. I want them to have a life that makes my life look pathetic. I feel like this is part of our duty as parents. But it starts with the ability to continue to do stuff. It starts by building yourself into a man who is just harder to kill. And that's what muscle does. It makes you harder to kill. Sure, we can argue extremes that there are still going to be times that freak incidents could happen, or injuries, or all these kinds of things. Absolutely it can. You cannot predict what life will throw at you. But what you can control is how prepared you are, how ready your body, your mindset, all of those things is to handle that. You know, I tore my ACL and my meniscus 2 years ago now. That thing's fully fucking healed. I play basketball. I run, I jump, I sprint. I do these kinds of things. One of the guys I know rolled his ankle. Decided that was it for his basketball career. Didn't even tear anything. Just a really bad sprain, and that was it. Comes down to our life decisions and how they will flow on into other areas of our lives. That a minor injury can mean the end of something that you enjoy. These are the decisions we need to make. These are the choices that we make, and we make them daily. And long before we ever reach a point where it's going to be a serious issue. You can, but it's a much harder decision. But you're much better off making a decision about who you want to be and how unstoppable you want to be now, versus getting to the point where it's an issue and then going, well, fuck, how do I fix this now? How do I address this problem now? Make the decision early. Make that decision now. As I said, I still don't understand how we're having an argument about why being strong, fit, and healthy matters. Why in this society where we've deemed that those things are unimportant, that we need to have this argument. It's a no-brainer. This is the standard state that you should be in. It's the standard level that we should be. It comes back to one of my favorite sayings. The bar is on the fucking floor. Because most people are like one muppet who was like, it's called a dad bod for a reason. Yeah, because we lowered the fucking standard. Not because it's good. Not because it's acceptable. Not because you're making good life choices. But because that has become the standard. And therefore we don't need to try anymore. The bar is on the fucking floor. If you just start demanding greatness of yourself, the things that you could achieve are phenomenal. But it starts with that first decision. It starts with that decision that you are going to demand greatness. So the choice is yours. Until next time.